Yesterday, I fed a starving lynx on my back porch. Today, she brought her 3 cubs. And then she disappeared. I know how that sounds. Like one of those internet stories with a heartwarming twist. But it didn't feel heartwarming when I first saw those little faces peeking from the edge of the tree line. It felt heavy, like someone had just dropped their whole world on my shoulders and walked away. It all started 4 days ago. I'd been living alone in my grandfather's cabin in southern Colorado, not far from the New Mexico border. After my divorce and losing my job in the city, I just needed out. Somewhere quiet, away from people, away from noise. Just me, the pine trees, and the mountains. The place had been sitting empty for years. Dust on the windowsills, cobwebs in the corners. The plumbing groaned, and the roof leaked when it rained. But it had something no apartment in Denver ever gave me. Silence. Space. Breathing room. That evening, I was grilling a chicken breast on my tiny propane stove when I heard something outside. At first I thought it was a coyote, or maybe a raccoon. But then I saw her. Thin, lanky, eyes alert but tired. A lynx. She stood maybe 15 feet from the porch, half hidden behind a fallen log. Not moving, not growling, just watching me. I froze. My heart hammered in my chest. I didn't know what to do. She didn't seem scared, not exactly. More like cautious. Like she was trying to decide if I was a threat or a solution. Her ribs showed through her fur. Her coat was dull and patchy. And still, her posture was proud. Wild animals don't beg. They survive. I slowly took the plate with the cooked chicken and tossed one half toward her. It landed a few feet from the edge of the porch. She didn't come closer, just waited. I went back inside, watching through the window. Minutes passed. Then she stepped forward, took the meat gently in her mouth, and vanished into the trees. I didn't sleep well that night. Something about her eyes stuck with me. There was no aggression in them, just hunger. And something else. Desperation, maybe. The next morning, I looked for tracks. I found some just beyond the clearing. Deep, cautious prints. I figured she wouldn't come back. But she did. That evening, right before sunset. And this time, she wasn't alone. She came out from the woods slowly, but stopped halfway. Then 3 small shadows darted out behind her. Cubs. Lynx kittens. Maybe 3 or 4 months old. Skinny. Shaky on their feet. I swear, she looked right at me, then turned her head toward them like she was saying, "Here. This is the one." I didn't move. Didn't breathe. Just stared. She stood there for maybe a full minute. Then turned and vanished into the woods, leaving the cubs behind. At first, I thought she'd return in a minute or two. But she didn't. Not that hour. Not that night. The cubs huddled under the same log she had hidden behind the night before. I left a few strips of chicken outside, but they didn't touch them until after midnight. By the next morning, I was pacing the floor. What was I supposed to do? Call animal control? The rangers? Take them in? Leave them? I grabbed my phone and called the only local I knew, Jane. She was a retired wildlife vet who ran a small rehab center down the road, about 20 minutes east. I'd helped her fix a shed roof once. We hadn't talked much since. She picked up on the second ring. "Hey, Jane," I said, trying to sound calm. "I've got a situation." "What kind of situation?" "A lynx. And 3 cubs. On my property. I think the mother might have abandoned them." There was a pause. "Can you describe them?" I told her everything. The chicken. The eyes. The vanishing act. "Stay with them," she said. "Don't approach. I'm coming." By noon, she was on my porch, binoculars in hand. We sat in silence, watching. The cubs were still there, curled up under the log. She leaned over. "That mother didn't abandon them. She left them here." That didn't make sense to me. "Sometimes," she explained, "an animal that's too weak to care for her young will bring them somewhere she thinks is safe." She must have seen something in you. I didn't know whether to feel honored or cursed. Jane came by every day after that. We built a small enclosed shelter near the tree line with a tarp and some old fencing I had in the barn. Each day, we fed them a mix of raw meat and supplements. Each day, they grew a little stronger. But their mother never came back. About a week in, I found tracks in the ravine about half a mile south. Blood, fur, cougar maybe, or even a trap. We never found a body. I didn't tell Jane. I just nodded when she said maybe she'd return. I let her keep hoping. The smallest cub was struggling. He barely ate, slept more than the others. Jane gave him fluids. I sat with him during storms, sang old country songs I hadn't thought about in years. He had these eyes that reminded me of my son, back when he was little, big, wide, and always searching. I hadn't spoken to my son in months. The divorce split more than just me and my wife. It cracked the whole foundation. But something in that cub's eyes made me want to pick up the phone. One night, as I sat beside the shelter, I looked at that tiny ball of fur shaking from cold and fear, and I cried. I hadn't cried since my divorce. But something about this helpless thing, this creature left in my care by another creature that trusted me more than I trusted myself, it broke me. Jane offered to take them in full-time once they were stronger. But I couldn't do it. I asked if I could keep them for a few more weeks, just to make sure. She agreed. 3 weeks after the mother vanished, the biggest cub began to climb. Trees, fences, my shed. He was wild, brave. The second was quieter, always near his siblings, cautious. And the third, the runt, he survived. Barely, but he did. I named them. I know I shouldn't have, but I did. Rusty, for the bold one. Dusty, for the quiet one. And Ash. Ash stuck to me like a shadow. He'd wait by the back step each morning. Not for food, just for me to come out. He had this strange habit of pawing gently at the wood, like he was knocking, like he wanted me to know he was there. I started to talk to him, out loud, full sentences, like he was a roommate. He'd tilt his head, blink slowly, then lay down at my feet. I hadn't felt that kind of peace in years. Eventually, Jane said it was time. She called a bigger rehab center up north. Said they had space, a rewilding program. I helped pack them into the crates. My heart cracked a little as each one was loaded into the back of her van. But Ash didn't want to go. He clawed at the bars, meowed in this strange, deep way. Not angry, just hurt. I bent down, whispered to him, "You'll be okay." She trusted me. Now I trust them. Jane drove off. I stood in the gravel, hands in my pockets, fighting everything in me that wanted to run after them. It's been 4 months. I still walk the ridge every morning. I look for tracks. Sometimes I think I hear something. A soft rustle, a chirp. Last week, I found a feather on my porch. Just one, bright red. Cardinals don't usually come this far up. I took it as a sign. Not sure of what, but I kept it. And sometimes I think about that lynx. How she saw something in me I didn't. She left her cubs in my care. She gave me something to fight for when I had nothing. I fed a lynx one night, and the next day she gave me a reason to keep going. That was the trade, and I think it saved both of us.